Hello and welcome to Peaceful Rebellion, and welcome to.
Hello, it's me.
What's your channel called? You've got a channel on YouTube?
The Reiki journey.
The Reiki Journey. Okay,
I had
so
to think about that there.
with Ian Robinson in the Reiki Journey. Definitely worthwhile looking at his channel, subscribing to it as well. So, Ian, it's been I don't know how long since we had a chat, the last chat?
Oh, about a year, maybe?
Maybe a year, yeah. I was thinking,
Maybe
I
about a
wasn't
year.
sure, 6 months or more than that, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So tell me, what have you been up to of late?
Well, lots of Reiki, lots of new clients. Moving into this year, moving into the new year, lots of new Reiki clients. Some really, really good hypnotherapy clients lately as well. And yeah, getting more into YouTube, getting some more content done, and trying to get a little bit more proactive with it,
Yeah.
rather than it just being something in the background that I add on to other bits and trying to do a little bit more with it as well. So yeah, trying to get more of a presence, I suppose.
Right. And you know your Reiki that you do, how much do you do one-to-one on presential, and how much do you do online?
Pretty much all of it now is one to one.
All right, okay.
Yeah. I started off uh, when I started off practicing Reiki, it was all distance. And now it's gone totally other way around where it's now all in person. I mean, I get the occasional one distance every now and again, but the majority of the time now it's all in person. And I think it's because people are looking for that human connection again,
Yeah.
rather than having some sort of technology involved in between, just that one-on-one connection with another person, another soul.
Yeah.
And I think people are getting a lot of benefit from that. Yeah.
Do you find that you I mean, you obviously you'll advertise your business, but is it through word of mouth that you get more people coming to you?
Mostly, yeah,
Mhm.
mostly it's word of mouth and like the free Google ads you can do. Mostly if somebody's searching for something, searching for Reiki in the area, and they'll see, usually I'm on top somewhere on the top of the pile.
Okay.
They'll see me and then they'll book in through that. Yeah, and then word of mouth. I don't get that much through social media, to be honest with you. I don't get a lot through the website. It's all pretty much local,
Yeah.
around here where people just search and find me really. So yeah.
Great, great. And it's nice to see that, Reiki's very woo-woo, isn't it? It's kind of outside, it's alternative, and it's nice to see that people are looking for that kind of
Yeah.
healing now. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Mm.
It's definitely taken a big there's been a big shift in people's consciousness from being kind of like pulled down the mainstream route
Yeah.
of like medication and this, that, and the other, and then just feeling like kind of, well, nothing's really getting to the bottom of any problems,
Yeah.
to using more complementary therapy to try and work alongside the stuff. I'm not saying there's always a place for both, but it's all about balance, I think, at the end of the day, and that's what we're trying to teach within Reiki, within meditation, within a lot of holistic practices, is about learning about balance and balancing ourselves,
Yeah.
mentally and emotionally, to be able to face all of this stuff that's going on around us. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I think I don't know what you feel, but the pandemic debacle that we went through, and since then, what's coming out? People are starting to realize that, hang on a minute, should we be trusting the mainstream medical advice that we get? Because, and should we be looking for something else? So it's nice to see this. I think there's an energetic shift happening as well,
Hmm.
which you're saying that you're getting a lot of one-to-one, and in 2026, and during 2025, my therapy calmed down a lot. The work that I did, I normally work 2 days a week on therapy, and sometimes I was just having one day a week, one customer a week. I wasn't worried about it because it's like my hobby, and when I've got extra time, I can do other things, you know.
Mhm.
But I've noticed as we come into 2026, people are just getting in touch again, saying, "I've got stuff to sort out. I need to sort this out." You know, it's almost like people are saying, the messages that I get is the journey. We've got to get on this journey within the journey to
Mm.
fix ourselves, to heal ourselves, to find out who we are. So I think people are starting to get on board with that and understand that they need to go. It's not about going outside now. It's about going within
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
healing themselves. You know.
yeah. I saw a really interesting post on Facebook this morning, and it was somebody. It must be like it was like a personal training page because I do like personal training coaching as well. And somebody was asking, saying, "Well, why is health food so expensive?" And I just thought a bit random. And so I just commented in and saying, well, because it's a lot easier for people to not look after themselves, to eat rather unhealthy food that's full of seed oils and processed stuff and sugars, to get people slightly dumbed down, a little bit addicted to things and not feel very at peace. It's very easy to control a population that aren't looking after themselves. So when you turn it around and think of the flip side, the advantages and the bonuses of doing the exercise, doing a bit of maybe running or lifting some weights, doing some meditation, looking after your actual mind body connection. And obviously that facilitates the energy healing that's going on within, then you're a lot more empowered. You're a lot more stronger in yourself. You're a lot more connected to your own intuition. So you're a lot more aware of things that are going on around you that just don't feel right. And I think as well, there's a shift towards that. There's a lot of people now as well, especially younger people that I've seen in gyms that are more into wanting to look after the body,
Yeah.
because that's our vessel for carrying everything else. So we need to look after it.
We do. It's got to last a lifetime.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's I'm aware that just as you mentioned, if you want to eat organic, you were going to pay at least 50% more than what you would
Mm.
pay if you were happy just to eat what they offer. One way of saving money, if you want to eat really well, but you want to save money, is to do what I've been doing for the last 6, 7 years, I think, which is intermittent fasting.
Mm.
So you eat once a day,
Yeah.
much cheaper.
Yeah.
It's much
Yeah.
cheaper.
Yeah.
But you eat really well, but you don't have to be worried about your breakfast. You don't have to be worried about your evening meal. It's like lunch and a biggie. And I've got to say that in turn, obviously, we were very cautious about what we buy, and we not so much now because I know what I can buy, but we have to examine every ingredient, to see
Mm.
whether the E numbers in there or whatever. Once you understand what you're going to eat, then the intermittent diet for me has just completely changed my life, completely changed
Mm.
the energy levels that I have, the mental clarity that it gives me. It's been a real bonus. I don't know whether you've ever tried it. Have you?
I have tried it. I'm one of those people that just like I'm always hungry because I do train quite a lot, so I'm just like always hungry. But I have tried it, and to be honest with you, I have found like great clarity in my mind,
Hmm.
from just like not being so fixated on the food and just being. And there's great discipline within that as well,
Sure.
and then you get sort of again, you become conditioned because we've been so conditioned to eat 3 meals a day.
Yeah.
But if you think of like what I've seen in a lot of posts, if you think of like our ancestors or whatever, they'll just eat whatever they can forage, whatever they can catch, whatever they can find. But they might not eat for a day, and then they
Sure.
find something else. And it's a bit like nature itself. If you see like lions and whatever, you're over on the African plains, they might only eat once a week. Then the
Hmm.
rest of the week, the body's just processing. But when you look at them, they're magnificent beings, and
Yeah.
it's I suppose it's trying to connect back to as much as we naturally can to what and who we were, to get closer to that spiritual connection, I suppose, that internal connection.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got to say that I started intermittent fasting when I turned 50. ish, and I knew that something was going wrong. You know, I think when you how old are you? Yeah,
45.
45. So you're still young.
No, I'm
Yeah,
46. Yeah,
46.
46 now. Yeah.
Still young. But what happens is, I think what I see is when we get to about 50, if we're carrying with us any bad habits, our body kind of says, can't manage that anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
When you're young, you can throw anything on the furnace and it'll burn. When
Mm,
you get to 50, it's like your body says, enough of that. So I think for for me, I could do intermittent fasting at 50 because I just wasn't burning the same amount of food as I was when I was 20. And when I was 20, I just ate all of the time.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think it might be something interesting for people who are coming to the second half of the life to look at, to say, well, how can it, because if you just keep on eating the way you ate when you were 20, 30, your
Mm,
body's just going to go like this, because it just
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
need, it
yeah,
doesn't need what you needed when you were younger. Um,
yeah.
I was going to ask you something as well. What's your take on? I mean, we've come flying into 2026, and it's just like the gates of hell have been opened. And it was always predicted astrologically we're coming into a very interesting time, and we've got all of this information that's coming out here. Yesterday, he who used to be Prince Andrew supposedly was arrested and stuff
Mm.
like that, and all the information about Epstein. What do you make of everything that's going on? How do you feel about what's going on?
You know, I try not to get too attached to it. I
Mm,
just think I just allow it to do what it needs to do. I have like an awareness of it, and I see things, and I'm just like, all right, okay, oh, that's interesting, yeah. And then, but like in the back of my mind, or intuitively, I'm always thinking, so what's this actually trying to either redirect us towards, or what's it trying to hide? What's it trying to hinder? And I think a lot of it, I think we've learned a lot over the sort of like last 5, 6 years, where there's so much has been put out there, and so many have been kind of like herded into different avenues of belief, and we still have this sort of like this paradigm of two lots of people, where you get one lot which are still going with the narrative, but then we've got like another set of people now which are becoming kind of like a little bit more, um I don't know whether they would be awakened or enlightened, or maybe just a little bit more switched on, and they're starting to become more aware and think, hang on a minute, what's this about now?
mm,
Why is all this all of a sudden being shown to us? And it's all there's just so much, from like over here in the UK, where we've had like the elections, we've had Keir Starmer that's running Labour, and we've got all this division between all the parties, the political stuff, which again I don't get into because they're all wearing the same suits at the end of the day. But again, people feed into that. And what I often talk about as well is what we're consuming. And sometimes I think people will just think what we're putting in our mouth, but I think what we're watching, what we're listening to, what we're feeling, the energy that is around us, it all has an effect on our mental, emotional, spiritual state. So it's not about, for me, it's not about sticking my head in the sand and just let my ass go in the air and just letting it all pass by and think, be all right, Um, but it's just having an awareness of it, having
mhm,
an openness to it, and going more with what I kind of like feel from it. And the majority of it is just it's just distraction. It's just
mm,
white noise, really. It's just distraction.
mm,
That it becomes. But I think when you throw enough stuff, you throw enough stones, it's like distraction, 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 and it just pulls people into so many different um pigeonholes, and the people become so segmented into different beliefs and structures and what have you, that it's a really great hypnotic tool, that they use, the media. But it's great that a lot of people aren't falling for it as quickly now.
mm.
But it is still creating sort of like that little bit of argy-bargy of belief. Um, in I used the metaphor. I was talking about this on one of my lives the other day, and I used the metaphor about we were talking about the whole Epstein and this, that, and the other sort of stuff. And what I was kind of like visualizing in my mind's eye was, when you put, like, say, like you put a drop of blood in a piranha pond, and then the piranhas go and then they get all this sort of like energy and what have you. And it's like that. It's like they just drop a little bit in the media. It brings all the people to it, and they're all fussing around between themselves, totally blinkered to what else is going on around them. And that's kind of like where I'm at with it. Yeah.
Mm.
What about you?
I agree entirely with what you said, and it's a tool that's been used. It's a tool that's been used for a long time, which is, hang on, we don't want them to look at this, so let's drop a droplet of blood in the water and let's get them scrabbling around over here, you know? So I, I'm kind of in this place where, well, I mean, obviously I'm aware that we're on a process where we're going to end up somewhere really nice. For us to get where we are, where we're going to be, what we have, the paradigm that we have has to fall. You know, and we can see it crumbling. I mean, you know, I heard some stats yesterday that I think it was in the UK, 40% of the population just never ever vote. And when they're asked why they don't vote, it's because they've got no confidence in politics at all. That's a massive amount of people who haven't got confidence in politics, because we know that is broken, and that, you know, it's got to fall. And that's kind of the messages I always get is, this has got to fall and it won't be pretty. So I'm aware of that as well. So I'm also aware that the baddies, if we want to call them that, the baddies know that we are the dangerous group. It's not the conformists. They're not dangerous at all. They've got them in the pocket. We are the focus. And so a lot of the stuff that gets us going, then I'm very wary. I'm very wary about where it's come from, why we're seeing it. But I'm also at the same time understanding that maybe it's got to happen anyway. You know, maybe in the grand scheme of things, maybe they're being guided to do that, even though they think they're doing it for different reasons, because we've got to all wake up. Not all wake up. The people who need to wake up need to wake up. You know, so what's guaranteed? I mean, the Epstein fiasco is waking up a lot of people. You know, a massive amount of people. So it's kind of like, I've always said that the baddies are far better at waking people up than we have ever been. We are rubbish at it.
Yeah.
You know, all that we get is pushback, and people stop speaking to us, and they don't want to know or whatever. It's not our job. It's their job. Their job is to wake people up to how bad they are, you know?
Yeah. It's like the old Buddhist saying that I often see, or I used to see quite a lot. I don't see it as much now, but it was, stop trying to calm the storm, calm yourself and the storm will pass. And seeing that in so many different situations over the last sort of like 10, 15, 20 years, where people become so reacted by something, and it just feeds into it. It gives it the energy that it requires. The impetus is from the populace's energy. But if you calm that energy down, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
It's only from our own stress and our own reaction that it creates the force that it needs to move forward. And that people are seeing through the mainstream media, whatever it might be, it's triggering something within that is making them think, hang on a minute. And then they're starting to question things, or things are starting to cogitate a little bit, and they're starting to become a little bit more aware and a little bit more analytical. And like you've quite rightly said, we've said all that we can say over the last sort of 5 years or whatever. It's down to the system as it is now to actually do it for us. It's time for us to just let go and just allow the cards to fall where they need to fall. And what more can we do, really? It's because it's just going to get us stressed out trying to create that. You know, we've seen over the last, again, probably 5 or 6 years, where people have been saying, you got to wake up, you got to see this, you got to become aware of that, you got to do this, you got to do the inner work and what have you. But the thing with such such sort of like hostility and anger within
Yeah.
themselves, and you just think, yeah, but you're just as bad as them. You're just
Yeah.
feeding him with your own anger. So yeah, it's fascinating, and it's really interesting to watch how it all just got,
Mm.
it's just doing what it needs to do. And over the years we learn as much as well, just by saying and letting go a little bit. It's the whole analogy, just let go.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. And what I'm very aware of is that no matter how, if we push, it's that premise. If you push against something, it's going to push back. Yeah. And
Hmm.
I used to do this in my team building days when I would be building teams, and I would go with the team and I would say to somebody, put your hand up. And they would put their hand up, and I would put my hand. Oh no, look, it thinks I'm putting my hand up. Anyway, I'll do here. I'll put my hand up, and I would push against their hand. Okay, I wouldn't say anything, and I would just push. And as I pushed, they would start pushing back with equal force. And no matter how hard I pushed, they would push back
Mm.
every single time. And I used to say to them, "Why have you pushed?" And say, "I don't know. It's because you pushed." And it's the way that the universe works. If you push, it's going to push back with equal and opposite force. Whereas, the martial arts are all about use the energy,
Mm.
use the other energy, don't push against it, pull, move it, So I think what I realized is that if we spend our time pushing and pushing against everything, all that we're going to get is the same force back, and it's just going to feel like we're up against a brick wall. And how many times do we say this? Like, I'm up against a brick wall, and that's because we're pushing. Whereas
Yeah.
I think, as you said, you alluded to, what we've got to do is allow, because it's not our business to. I don't believe it's our business to be changing all of that. It's not our business, and we just don't have the capacity to change all of that. What we're going to do. But we can change ourselves,
Mm.
and we can do the work, the inner work, to get ourselves into such a place that we become bulletproof. We need to be bulletproof, because they're going to be firing bullets and all of that. But the last thing we want to do is then go out and start firing bullets ourselves.
Yeah.
And then I'll let you talk. There's I post on 5 channels. I post on YouTube. I post on TikTok, Instagram, Rumble, and BitChute. 5 channels, okay?
Mm.
And TikTok, I never get any comments. YouTube, I get the most beautiful comments ever. The most beautiful. And on Rumble, every now and again, but always nice comments. On BitChute, for whatever reason, the people that are on BitChute, they're really aggressive. Really, and I don't know. And the BitChute's got the fame of having the awakened people on there and stuff like that, And I remember, because I use AI to make thumbnails. Why? Because it's fast, yeah. And so you used AI. You were with the devil. That's it. I'm unsubscribed. And I was thinking, well, that escalated quickly, didn't it? Holy shit! And I think a lot of awakened people are still in push. Like they're looking for. They just want to fight. And I think it's time that we stopped the fighting.
Yeah.
Started flowing a lot more.
Yeah. They're just constantly looking for the trigger. I was just thinking about that when you said about the name BitChute and how it's spelled. And I thought, well, it's because they're all bitches. So it's BITCH, isn't it? UTE, yeah. So they're all bitches. They're just a pack of bitches. So
Yeah.
it's
There
a
you
play
are.
on
You
word.
see,
It's a play on words.
it's a hypnotic command. Yeah.
Yeah, be a bitch. Yeah, but it's so easy to get pulled into it. And even in some pages that I comment on now and again, which is like to do with Reiki healers pages and what have you, and there's all these different sort of like ideas and beliefs, and it's not kind of like a criticism, but a lot of the time it's not really Reiki what they're practicing. It's something totally different, or it's something that they've been taught that, like for instance, yesterday someone wanted to find somewhere where they could buy a sash so they could do a Reiki attunement. Like, why do you need to wear a sash? Why do you feel you need this piece of cloth to create the separation between you and the other person? And Mikao Usui was always teaching about oneness. It's always about coming together and understanding that we already are an element of that is that we use in the Reiki. Oh, that was like throwing blood in a piranha tank. It was just like it just went. So, right. So, and my comment after that was, well, if you don't appreciate my comment, just let it go. And again, that's what we're always being taught, as you know, in Reiki circles, the 5 principles about letting go.
Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah, even within that, there is people that are in these healing practices that don't understand the art of letting go and are so full of an element of the ego, to just react all the time. Yeah.
I'll tell you something, Ian. Over the years, when I was training to be a therapist, I did such a lot of courses, such a lot. And as I went through the courses, I started to get this certain clarity about people who trained to be therapists, that they had a lot of problems. And I understood that, when you've got a lot of issues, I had loads of issues that I had to resolve. You're attracted to that kind of thing, that I want to help people because I know that I need help. It's kind of this loop that you get into. But I used to think, a lot of them were like really, really not in a good place, and hadn't resolved ego issues and hadn't resolved such a lot. And I still find that to this day. Like when somebody says I'm a therapist, when somebody says to me I'm a therapist or I'm a psychologist or whatever, I always think, oh right, just be careful here, because maybe they haven't got the shit sorted out yet.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have, and this, in a beautiful place. But very often I find that therapists have issues. The guy who taught me NLP and hypnosis, who I loved, he was fantastic, and yet when it came out, he was a disaster. He had a disastrous life of the most bizarre things ever. It's like physician, heal thyself. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it, how although we're going to try and support and I suppose coach or help to heal somebody, but like you say, we've got to deal with our own like shit first before we start projecting that onto other people. And yeah, over the years I've met with people that have been sort of maybe psychotherapists or whatever, and they've come from like really, really sort of like horrific beginnings, and they've had all these addictions, and they're still sorting the shit out. They've still got a lot of ego, but they're also practicing as well. And I'm thinking, where's the balance between the two? It must be difficult. It must be really difficult for them to also be able to, because I think a lot of like psychotherapists, they tend to have like a supervisor as well, don't they? That they can sort of like offload to. And I think, well, their supervisor must be. I hope they've got someone else that they can offload to as well, because there must be a lot to sort of like just let go of, and talk about.
That said, it's not a criticism, because what I believe is the best therapists are the ones who've had a tough time, who have had to come through the same as you're coming through. Like, for example, I've for a lot of years I've worked with ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, because I am an ex-Jehovah's Witness as well. And I know when they're telling me their stuff, I know where they are. I know where they've been. I know what they're going through. Yeah. And lots of times they say to me, I've been with other therapists who don't know anything about Jehovah's Witnesses, and it doesn't work because they don't understand what I'm saying. And it's the same as, if you've walked in the moccasins of somebody. So I think it serves you tremendously if you have had mega issues, if you've had addiction issues, if you've had whatever. And you become a therapist. Fantastic, because you understand where people are. You know where they are. But you've also got to get that sorted.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. It's that relatability, and that's what draws people to you, because you've instantly got that connection. So the majority of my people that I work with, it's some sort of like mental health. So it's usually anxiety, depression, things like that. That usually people that usually come to me. And yeah, it's just that relatability, because like you say, you understand them, you understand what they're feeling, you understand what they're going through mentally and emotionally. So it's just having that connection and bridging it. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about because you studied hypnosis with our hypnosis group, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and you've been using it. How long have you been using hypnosis now?
Oh, crikey. Few years, I think now.
Must be maybe
Yeah, few years.
3 years or
Maybe
something.
maybe 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
How have you found it? How have you found your hypnosis evolving as you've used it? Have you kind of molded it into something that's more you?
yeah, I've molded it. What I've found really effective, and what I've found really good for how I work, is I've molded EFT into it as well.
Right.
So I use a little bit of EFT at the beginning of a hypnotherapy session, and then I'll do the hypnotherapy session in the middle, and I'll do the EFT at the end. And the difference, like on because obviously when you do EFT, you do like the SUD scale,
Uh-huh.
which is the subjective units of disorder scale or whatever it's called, and at the beginning, they're usually maybe like 7, 8, 9. They're quite high. You do the hypnotherapy, you do all that inner work, you let them do whatever they need to do within that space. And then you do the EFT at the end, and it's like 2 or 3. It's come so far down the scale.
Yeah.
Even when I do EFT alongside Reiki, I call it like a Reiki sandwich. So I'll do Reiki in the middle, I do EFT either side, and the difference is it's just amazing. But one of the most recent hypnotherapy clients that I had, she had not claustrophobia, claustrophobia. Because she had this fear of being enclosed, being locked in, and in so beforehand we had like a bit. I always have like a bit of a discussion, maybe about a week and a half beforehand, so I can kind of like formulate what I'm going to
Sure.
do and how I'm going to work through it and what have you. Um, and it was the first time I'd ever dealt with anything like this, and I'm thinking, right, what am I going to do with this? So like I was thinking of just cogitating with all these different things, and then it just sort of like the ideas just flowed. It's like the information just came flowing through me, whether it was sort of like channeling it or whatever, but the information just came through. Um, and we did the EFT session, we did the hypnotherapy session, we finished with the EFT. And the reason why the lady wanted the session was because she had to go and have an MRI,
Right.
which was
Yeah.
like the worst case scenario for her because she's in this tube, this tunnel, and what have you. And so she wanted something to be able to deal with that. And she didn't, when she went to go, she thought she was going to feel scared and anxious and frightened. But she got there, she went in the tunnel, she had no feelings of anxiety whatsoever. She came back out. She wrote me a really, really amazing review for the effects that the effect that she didn't have because nothing, nothing happened. There was no
Sure.
anxiousness or anything. Um, and I was just like, wow, it just like blew me away. Just the effectiveness of just using that EFT session. I think at the beginning, it just gives you kind of like an anchor to work around
Yeah.
in the hypnosis session. And
Yeah.
then you add your other little sort of like subliminal things within there to guide them into where they need to be. And then working at the end of it, and just everything's just calmed down, everything's subdued,
Yeah.
everything's more controlled, and so much easier for them to be able to deal with. And yeah, they couldn't believe the change, but obviously they never felt anything.
Hmm.
But they just felt it just went smoothly. Everything just went so smoothly for them, and I was just like, yes, get in,
Beautiful.
wonderful. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that because yeah, I think I did an EFT course. I don't know whether I published it. I must work on. I've got loads of courses I haven't published. Very bad. And so what I do is very much like you. I do EFT, and then there's a. I don't know whether you do this with EFT. You know, we've got our tapping points.
Mm,
What I do is once we've done a few rounds, then I get them to massage these two spots like this and close their eyes. Well, EFT
mm,
is really hypnotic anyway. It's a hypnotic
mm,
induction. You know, you're kind of
mm,
out of your body a little bit. So I just get them to be. I say, just close your eyes and just massage those, and you don't have to listen to what I'm saying. Then I just talk to them hypnotically. And
mm.
then when we finish, we do another round, and then I'll do that again, and it works a treat. It's like, because EFT is fab. It's just one of the most beautiful techniques. But when you combine it with hypnosis, and you can see this, even as you were talking about this calmness that
Mm,
comes, and
mm.
you can say stuff that perhaps in EFT you can say that as well, but it's like it really hits home. So yeah,
Yeah,
nice technique, nice
yeah.
technique. And how often, obviously, when you're doing Reiki, do you combine hypnosis with that as well?
Sometimes I'll use sort of a hypnotic technique or a hypnosis sort of like guiding voice, just to take if they're quite a little bit uptight, or maybe it's the first treatment.
Yeah,
I'll use like a few techniques just to sort of like guide them down, follow the breathing, and just imagine that breath just relaxing you deeper and deeper, and just get quieter and quieter, and just follow your breathing, and then just go into the Reiki treatment and just allow them to just relax. And one of the best responses to somebody that I had after the like little hypnotic sort of introduction into the Reiki treatment, we got to the end, and I at the end of the sessions, I sort of like touched the knees, and I just struck my hands down to the feet, and I just asked them to just become more aware of the breath. Just take a few nice deep breaths in, and just imagine a white light moving through your body, keeping that sense of relaxation and what have you. And then eventually I'll sort of like bring them round and what have you, and they open the eyes. And one of the best responses to one of my clients was like, I don't know what just happened, but I feel amazing. And I'm just like, that's what we're looking for. Like, and the
absolutely.
thing is as well, you don't need to understand it. You don't need to be able to explain it. Just allow it. Just be open to it and allow it, and
Yeah.
just let go. Again, it's that letting go.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I take the biggest compliment I take is when people come out of hypnosis, and it happens such a lot. They open their eyes and they say, "Wow, that's
Mm,
it. That's
that's it.
all that we need to hear. A wow.
Yeah.
I'm very happy with a wow. You don't need to, explain. And sometimes they can't explain what went on, but as long as it's impactful for them,
Yeah.
Mm.
I did a hypnosis. This is a really good question to you, actually, because I did a hypnosis session probably about a year or so ago now with one of my Reiki students, and she wanted to try a past life regression.
Yeah.
So we did the past life regression, which was really good. She was very, very visual and what have you. And then, when you go to the higher self,
Mm.
and you go in the elevator, well, she went in the elevator, the door closed, but there was somebody else in the elevator with her when she closed the door, and it was this sort of like big hairy creature was in there.
Dear
It didn't
me.
feel threatening or anything. So she went up and then went to meet the higher self. We talked to the higher self, answered all the questions, and then we came to go back into the elevator to come back down. And she was like, "I can't go in there yet. There's still something else I need to do here." And I said, "Oh." So, but for me, I was like, "Well, come on, it's time to get back in the elevator. We need to go. We need to. We need to go back. That's my script." And it was that point that I thought I've got to let go of the script.
Mm.
It was that told me I've just got to go with where they need to go, and just let them experience what they need to experience, and
Yeah.
just come back when they're ready. So that was a really, really big lesson for me, and that's something that you said in your course was it's good to use as sort of a framework, but
Yeah.
once you get used to it, just let go of it.
Absolutely, and it's these things that happen really are the gifts that you're given, because if everybody just followed your script, it would be really boring. But also, you wouldn't learn. And it's when I just recently I did a thing with Gary in between lives, and I said, and it got, took him to this place, and he said, "Oh, I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed to go in." And I've had it before, and I remember the first time I just thought, shit, what am I going to do? He's not allowed. This is terrible. And of course, the rule with hypnosis is incorporation. You incorporate whatever happens, and as long as you don't sound like you're panicking, as long as you sound like you're not allowed. Okay, so what are you allowed to do? Where can we go that, ask it why you're not allowed and what, blah, blah. And that's all. Once you are congruent, then, I mean, we had a lovely session and he got great answers. We just weren't allowed to go to a certain place, but we went somewhere else. I said, is there somewhere else that you can go?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, don't panic, Captain Mannering,
Yeah.
Yeah, and if I remember once I had, because we've got a time frame as well. Like my sessions last an hour and a half, and I can't really afford them to go over because I might have somebody else booked in. And one lady we were doing a past life regression, and she was very visual to the point of, I'm going to describe every single thing that I see, and I'm going to walk. And she was in tunnels. And she's going, I'm going through a tunnel, and all the walls, and there's water, and there's a tunnel. But I can see up ahead there's a light. And I said, okay, well, just go to the light. I know you're not supposed to say that. Go to the light. Go to the light. And she's going, okay, I'm just walking. I can't go any faster. Well, honestly, it took something like an hour and 15 minutes just going through the tunnels. We hadn't been to the most important part in her life. She just was in this tunnel. It went on and on forever. And she loved it. She loved it, fair enough. And, I'm sure she got a lot out of it, but sometimes, because I now I say, but what you'll find is you can actually move much faster now in hypnosis. Now I wouldn't allow that to happen, but at the beginning it was like, okay. So did you continue walking?
Yeah. That's so funny. That's so funny. It's strange. It's like what you just said earlier. It's strange how you do get these little sort of like nuggets of just things that happen, and you learn so much from them. You really do. At the time, like you say, probably internally you're thinking, shit, well, what do I do now? Where do we go? But then it's a little bit like what we are saying before about like the pushing. You can't push. You've just got to go with it. It's hypnosis aikido kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Just go with it. Yeah.
Absolutely. The other interesting thing is when you have what is called an abreaction, which is when somebody absolutely throws a wobbly in hypnosis, bursts into tears or whatever. And again, at the beginning, it used to be, ooh, what shall I do? What shall I do? And now when I see that, I just think, brilliant. Something big is happening. And you tell people, that's excellent. Let that out. Let that happen. Something very important is happening. And it always does. It always ends up as really, really good. I remember doing a past life regression with a man, because men, 90% of my clients, 95% of my clients are women, right? Because and men come every now and again, and they're often the very sort of, a bit more like, I'm going to keep myself under control and I'm not going to show emotion. But every now and again, what I find is women show emotion because they're so accustomed to showing it. It's a show of emotion, and then they get over it and everything, When men actually allow themselves to show the emotion, sometimes it's massive. It's absolutely enormous. I remember one guy who went back to a previous life, and he was the guardian angel over one of the past civilizations where they were, very advanced and everything. And he was the guardian, and his job was to keep the place safe. And the place fell, and he failed. He started to cry, and it was the most enormous thing ever. He was weeping and weeping for like 10 minutes. It was incredible. But it's like, you need to let that go. When people are letting go of this emotion, it's like, excellent. Let that out. Let that out. You're going to feel a lot better afterwards,
Do you think that all of these emotions, when we take people's, I know we've talked about our thoughts on past lives regressions before, but do you think when people are going to this place, whether it might be like Egypt or Sumerian or whatever, some ancient civilization, they're going to this place, they've come across this emotion, they're letting it all go. Do you think that is, it's obviously it's an aspect of them, but do you think there's an aspect of maybe that life in their genetic makeup, in their DNA, or is it something in this life and they just need to see that imagery to give it um the image of what it is that we need to release? What do you think it is?
Well, as I get older, I realize I know nought. I know nothing. What I think it could be, I think there are a number of options. One is it could actually be a past life experience. And
Mm,
yes, they experienced that emotion and they've got that in their karmic field, they've got that in their history. Another option is that it could be a genetic memory. How do birds know where to migrate when nobody's
mm,
showing them? They know
yeah.
because they've got a genetic memory. It could be a genetic memory that we've inherited. It could be a metaphor that our unconscious mind has given us because it knows that we need to allow something to release.
Mm,
And it could just be a story that allows us to release a trapped emotion that we've got in our body. Our body wisdom is very wise and it understands what we've got to do. It could be all of those things.
mm,
I really don't know. You've had past life experience, yes, of
mm,
hypnosis, yeah.
yeah.
I've had them. Sometimes I've felt not convinced with that one. And
Mm,
other times I have thought, wow, that is
yeah.
incredible. That's incredible.
Mm,
I'll give you the most, and I've had loads of ones where I think, right, this is beyond a metaphor. My wife, right at the beginning, I did a past life regression with her, and she was a guard, okay, and she was saying to me, and this was 20 years ago, right
mm,
before anyone knew what Ukraine was and where the Ukraine was, and she said, I'm Russian, I'm a Russian guard, and then she said, no, I'm not, I'm Ukrainian. It's very important that I say I'm Ukrainian, yeah, and she was killed, and she was stabbed in the back, and her father, who was another guard, she knew it was a father, but it wasn't a father in that particular incarnation. He was stabbed too in the back. And when we came out and we talked about it and all of that, and basically, her dad has got a mark on his back, and she has too, in exactly the same place where in the life she was stabbed. And this happens a
mm,
lot. I've heard this a lot where people have scars, and when they go to a past life, they discover that that was because it's like a little
mm,
memory that they've got. And she was saying, I don't even know where Ukraine is. We had to get the map out, but it was very important. She said, I need you to know that I'm not Russian, I'm Ukrainian. And when you look at the history, there's always been this like kind of separation that's gone on.
yeah.
But that was fascinating for me. I thought there's more to it than just a metaphor from the mind, you know?
Mm, yeah.
But I don't know.
It's interesting you say that, because I don't know if you've ever seen it before, but there's a show on Netflix. I know Netflix, stay away from Netflix, but there is a show on Netflix called Surviving Death. I don't know if you've ever seen it
I
before,
haven't.
but watch it. If you can watch it, watch it. It's a great, it's 6 episodes in a series. First episode's about near-death experiences. Then they go into mediumship and psychics and all that sort of stuff. The last episode is about people that remember their previous lives.
Mhm.
And for me, that was absolutely fascinating. And there was two young guys. One, he used to be an actor in Hollywood and he remembered aspects of that life, so much so that he went over to Hollywood and actually met his daughter that would have been in that life. It was like so weird, so surreal. And he knew all of these different things, and he used to put his initials on his handkerchiefs and on his items of clothing and what have you. And that's exactly what this kid did in this life. So there's all these little correlations that happened. And then there was another kid that was killed over the Sea of Japan during the Second World War, and he had all this trauma and all this stuff. They didn't know what it was, but he was fascinated with the war. He was fascinated with planes, Japan, and they were trying to put all this stuff together. And in the end, they took him to the sea next to Japan, and he just broke down and he released all these emotions, and it just healed all of that stuff. So for me to watch, when I was watching that was just like, wow, there's something in it. And then they were talking as well in the show about like how people have like scars and birthmarks and what have you from past lives, and they bring it through into this life because it's something that they need to deal with. So it's not just the physical stuff, it's the emotional scarring as well that we're dealing with. So yeah, I think there is something to it, for sure. Again, we know nothing really, but when I watched that, there was evidence that something is at play, something grander than we can ever like kind of like put our fingers on and truly understand.
I agree. And I listened to a guy who'd done massive research into past lives and reincarnation. And he said, scientifically, I have the proof that reincarnation is real. It happens. And we are the Western world is a small portion of the world that doesn't believe so much in reincarnation. The rest of the world does, and like in other places, it's like God bless you. It's like, yeah, absolutely. And families in Sri Lanka, I know families will take the children to go and see the family from before that the child came from, and they would meet the whole family, and it's just standard stuff. For us, it's been turned into a bit woo-woo. But standard stuff for other beliefs. So, yeah, I think in my heart of hearts, I know that we've been here a lot of times. In my heart of hearts, I know that we've come back a lot of times, and that maybe I've heard Dolores Cannon used to say we can, when we're on the other side, we can take impressions from lives rather than having to live them. We get the impression and we learn from that. And she said, so lots of people who've had, they say I've had this life, it isn't necessarily that they've lived it, that they've actually taken on the impression and learned from it. I don't know. Who knows? Yeah. But bloody hell, some of the experiences that I've had have been very real, and some of the experiences I've facilitated have been incredibly real with massive emotion. So, the emotion, you can't fake emotion. It's either there or it isn't there,
Yeah.
It's either there or it isn't there. Yeah. Listen, Ian, we've been chatting for an hour. I think that's probably enough for our audience.
I know. Time's just flowing, hasn't it? It's just
absolutely.
Blink of an eye.
Thank you so much for spending time and chatting, and it's been really interesting, and we'll get together again. Let's not leave it a year this time.
No, yeah, definitely sooner. Yes.
Yeah. All right, sir. And I wish you every luck with your business and your Reiki and your therapies and everything. And I'll put your links in the video. Yeah.
Same here over on my channel as well, for you. So thank you very much, Gordon. And we'll see you again very soon. Speak to you soon.
Take care.
All right. Take care.